What's going on, everybody? This is Jerome Moore, host and creator of Deep Dish Conversations. And firstly, I want to say thank you for all love and support, and thank you for exploring the perspectives of social change with me on this platform. I want to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast listen platform. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you're loving the Deep Dish Conversations. I appreciate all of the support again. I hope you all enjoy this episode.
Hygiene in the pizza room. Ready.
So, before we get into, the Community Resource Center and everything that y'all do around Middle Tennessee when it comes to hygiene, let's talk about, you all a little bit. How do you all get into this work? What inspired you? Where you're from? Who are you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so let's start with you, Tina.
Okay. I'm Tina. I'm originally from the West Coast. So I came to Nashville 26 years ago, and to actually work in entertainment marketing is the best way to put it. After 20 years of radio, newspaper advertising, and marketing, I was like, all right, I want to do something a little bit different. And I'd been volunteering, sitting on boards, things like that. And CRC was always one of those organizations I was helping as I kind of worked up the ladder here in Nashville.
Oh, wow. So, from California to Nashville. So you was one of the first. You started this movie.
Oh, no. Oregon, not California.
Oregon.
Yeah, don't
Still
put
the West Coast, though. Still the West Coast.
Yeah.
Still the West Coast, And how about you, Megan?
Yeah, I'm not from Oregon. From Kentucky, but I have been in Nashville for about 10 years.
Okay.
My background is in social work, so I always wanted to be in that helping space. And in Nashville for about 10 years, I've been working usually in youth serving agencies. So working with young people, whether it's in a school or a nonprofit. And Tina and I had kind of orbited around one another just by nature of what we did. Yeah. When I was at a school and needed hygiene, I'd call Tina. When the tornado happened, our worlds got brought together just from me being in North. And so just fell in love with what she was doing. And it took a minute, but we finally found our way to one another.
Found our groove. We're
Yeah.
good.
But
Y'all,
I think
y'all like each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You have to. You
Yes.
have to when you're now a 3-person team.
Yes.
Wow, only 3.
3.5,
3.5,
technically.
yeah.
We have a part-time warehouse
Oh,
truck
okay.
driver.
That's what the half is.
That's what
Yeah.
the half
Okay,
is.
I just wanted to be clear.
He's a whole person, but he's with us half time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just watched Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. So, I just want to be clear.
We just got a centaur
Yeah.
running around.
I just want to be clear, I just want to be clear, People may identify how they identify.
That is true.
So,
That is true.
And really, when the tornado hit, I was the only employee.
Yes. Yeah.
So I took over the organization in 2019. We had gone through some strategic planning, had really kind of begun to outline a large shift to this hygiene space, knowing that it would take several years, that you couldn't just flip on the switch today and be like, we're going to be able to afford to take care of all the hygiene needs in Nashville.
Right.
So we knew we had to work up to that, not knowing my crystal ball was broken, that we would have a tornado, a pandemic, a bombing, two floods, all of these things that we actually responded to in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
wow.
Yes.
So, all right. Before we get in deep dish into,
Okay. Thin crust.
Yeah, we're going to start off thin right now.
All right. Cool.
So, hygiene.
Yeah.
How many other organizations in Nashville, specifically, just deal with hygiene?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
0. The CRC has always lived in a really interesting space between nonprofits and their needs and what we could source. And so if you were a nonprofit that needed blankets or socks or whatnot, we were helping fill those needs. As we began this kind of strategic shift in 2019, it would be like, hey, you can take 6 shampoos today, but I need 25, or I need 200, or I need whatever that astronomical number was to supply a whole nonprofit.
Right.
And so there are nonprofits that are doing a great job of hustling for their own. But what we do is take in a whole tractor trailer.
Yeah.
So what one person might need a case of toothbrushes, we can accept 24 pallets, 6 to 7 feet tall, and it be about, 132,000 pieces of toothbrushes.
Wow.
donated from a corporate partner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really say it's that supply chain. That's the space that we live in. When the shift was happening at the CRC of like, what is CRC 2.0? The gap that we identified were around non-food basic needs. I mean, while there is food insecurity vastly in our community, we have a network of support around food. But we make the case all day long, hygiene is a basic need. It's
Right.
not something I want to walk out of my house without, and so no person should have to be in our community without access to that. And that's where we saw that gap was there are people that are doing it for their school, for their nonprofit, 30 sticks of deodorant at a time, but who is creating that coordinated supply chain to make sure that even the smallest nonprofit or the smallest church has access to those products. So that's where we kind of live in that space, is that supply chain.
Wow. So you all are like the plug.
Yes.
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 Yeah, y'all are the plug for like Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there
Wow.
are very few organizations like ours across the country, like maybe 6 or 7.
And one internationally that's
Yeah.
doing really well.
Wow. So one of the things about hygiene that when I think about, especially when you're talking about supplying community, right, is how does an organization or how does a person ask, for hygiene and still keep their dignity, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Because like that's the thing. A lot of times, like I don't want to, like I know I need like shampoo, soap, deodorant, feminine products,
Yes.
whatever it may be. But like I don't want to be judged. I don't want eyes on me. I don't, So how do you all deal with that, especially with partner organizations,
Yeah.
it's like schools
Yeah.
and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, especially with students and stuff where
Yes.
kids are mean, can be mean.
Yes.
Brutal. Our goal is that we are going to put hygiene in places that take the barrier away from whether that is proving with your paperwork that you meet an income criteria. It is sitting in a class to be able to redeem your attendance for something. Like our goal is that while there are organizations that can have those kinds of pieces, we want to make sure that there are other opportunities that you just walk in and say, I need some help. Right. And our goal is that the partners that we work with that are running our hygiene pantries are able to refer people to additional resources. Yeah. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to come get that bottle of shampoo, but if it's something that you need ongoing, if you have needs around food insecurity, because we do know that food insecurity and hygiene insecurity go hand in hand.
Wow. Okay.
And that you're often making really hard decisions between putting food on your table or paying your rent, or putting food on your table or buying deodorant, or whatever that challenge is for that individual or that family. And so we kind of do it in a couple of different models. One that we're really proud about is our school model. And so we're placing hygiene pantries right into schools in Metro Nashville Public Schools with the goal of having 20 in the next year.
Wow.
And these are free and 100% stocked for a student or a family. Yeah. And we know that some schools they have a lot of family involvement, that families are walking and dropping their kids off, and that a mom or a grandparent or an aunt or whoever might say, hey, we really need some additional help, and they'll take it right then. Or we just loaded in a middle school that we were rethinking every form that we've made because we want the kids to own the process and not feel like they're having to share too much. Yeah. That we have to, we report back to our grants and the people that support us, like we gave away X amount of stuff for X amount of people in the household, but allow these kids to be part of the process without scaring them away for what they might need next.
Yeah. Right. I think your point, it's so important. We don't have this fixed model everywhere we go. We really talk to the school, the partner, whomever it might be, and say, to use your word, because it's what we live by every day, how do we protect, provide, and restore dignity to whomever is in your building? And a lot of times with our schools, because of everything you just said, it's a no questions asked I mean, they're like one of our pantries is in a closet that's really only accessed by students. Teachers really aren't in there, families aren't in there, because there can be, shouldn't be, but there can be shame around these products. And so for us, if you need something, it's a no questions asked process. And on top of that, we want to make sure that there are products in that space that are familiar to you, that look like something that you would buy at a store if you needed to, and that you have choice. We really believe not only in the dignity of the products, but you as a person having the dignity to choose what you want and what's going to feel good for you.
And so I want to kind of dive into like maybe biases or just stereotypes, right? Because I think probably many of us, when we think about like hygiene, we think about maybe a few group of human beings, right?
Yes.
We probably think about our homeless neighbors. We probably think about those that maybe just poor, right? We probably think about a particular ethnic group, right? Just depends on our experience. And so to try to alleviate that, right, in this type of conversation, do you all see that like hygiene is just something that is needed? It can vary based on different like social classes, economic classes, or is there like things that you all see like systemically that hey, this particular group tends to need more hygiene support than this particular group for whatever reason, and how do you all like pivot or respond to those things when y'all come across them?
I think one of the big differentiators of hygiene need or hygiene insecurity is what we talk about all the time is around the government assistance model. So there are no government assistance programs that cover, discount, or provide any of these products.
Wow.
So if I'm on SNAP, which we used to call food stamps, my household qualifies for WIC, I cannot walk into the store and buy laundry detergent. I cannot buy feminine products. I cannot buy diapers for my child. And so whereas when you're talking about sort of the socioeconomic class around this, even if your household qualifies for these programs, you cannot access or afford them. And so to some extent, hygiene insecurity is much wider and more vast than I think people realize, because there's just no way to break down, especially the financial barriers around these products.
Well, and I think COVID has, in COVID, Nashville specifically, experienced this group of hospitality workers who I think are some of the biggest hustlers in town. That if they've got to make a car payment, they're pulling double shifts. Well, you take away their livelihood, and this is a group of people that had never needed to ask for assistance. And so all of a sudden we were getting phone calls of like, where do I go? And you'd say a name like, hey, you can go here. And they'd be like, what's that? And so we saw in COVID that it wasn't the color of your skin. It wasn't the neighborhood that you live in. It wasn't any of those, items that people like to just tag off. It was everyone across the board that didn't know how to go get help that we were really starting to support.
Yeah.
And you brought up I think an interesting thing, Megan, talking about like this government assistance, right? Like you would think hygiene would be something that it's like a human right.
Yes.
No matter where you are.
Thank you.
Like,
mic drop.
Yeah.
I will not drop this mic because it's very expensive, but mic drop, yes.
So you got me thinking like, why isn't hygiene just as important as food, right? Or housing, or and then you brought up something that I didn't think about as far as like laundry detergent, right? I wouldn't even thought of that as like a hygiene.
No.
I'm thinking of like toothbrush, toothpaste, soap.
So we include a laundry detergent and a cleaning supply as our top 10 products.
Okay.
In addition to toothbrush and toothpaste and soap and shampoo, deodorant, diapers and wipes, feminine hygiene and continence products, because you can brush your teeth all day, but like if your clothes are still dirty, that's your first handshake. Like that's that outward appearance that's just as important as whether or not you brush your teeth.
Right.
And I think part of this conversation really is around that unless 2 or 3 are gathered and having this conversation, it's a tough conversation to be had.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that we talked to probably went to Target, dropped a couple $100, didn't think twice about it. and just went on. And they have a cadence in which they get up every morning and they brush their teeth and they shower and they it's matter of fact, and they move on with their day.
They don't think about it.
They don't think about it at all. And instead, we're having a conversation about individuals that are maybe inside of a food desert, which means there's no good place to buy fresh produce. So if you don't have a place that's selling produce, you probably are going to a Minute Mart or a gas station to buy those things that you need, and a lot of times that's hygiene. Right. So what might cost $3 at a Walmart or a Target is a minimum of $5, $50, $6 right. inside a community that doesn't have a large scale, food store, discount, Sam's or Costco. Yeah. And so it's not only that we are not providing these items as part of assistance, but we're also not giving locations in which communities can access these items right. in an affordable manner.
Yeah.
And so now I got two things in my mind because we are a very blue city dot in a very red, super red state. Mm-hmm. And so when you talk about government, what are those conversations? Do you all have those conversations with state legislators or even council persons, or even the mayor's administration about combating hygiene and the deficit of hygiene that people don't have, and making it easier for people to access this hygiene that they need and need to use every single day to feel better, feel better about themselves.
Yes.
And when you feel clean, you just something else about them. You just feel fresh, even
Absolutely.
if you don't have something else. Knowing that you can I'm a clean, my
yes.
body's clean. I can, I have the products to do that. It gives you more confidence about yourself.
It's a head up versus head down.
Right.
I mean, as someone who used to be in this school space, I knew which of my kids didn't feel clean that day because it was a head down. Right. And the power to make a head up. It's soap, whatever. But that's the power of hygiene right there. But to circle back to your question,
we don't receive any state, local funding, city funding, state funding, national funding. We are grassroots, hustling for every dollar that we can get. Wow. And we're bringing in people that maybe found us from a disaster perspective. Yeah. We have a funder that is out of state, and they loved our disaster work and how we were showing what we were doing and helping the community. And they were like, "What do you do next? What's your next thing?" And I was like, "Next, I've been doing it all at the same time. Right. Disaster is 1/7 of what we do every day." Right. And so, are we having conversation? Yes. We submitted a pretty sizable grant to the state, and when we look at who got funded, we're like, okay, there's not a lot of change makers in that list. And so we know we have to carry this flag and just keep having conversations like this.
Yeah.
Because every time we talk to somebody new, they're like, wait, you're doing it. How can we help you? Right. What, our conversation this morning was around ethnic hair products. That we had to find sources because we had a family that got turned away, and not turned away, they just didn't have a product that they felt comfortable taking. And so this morning I was like, okay, we got to find it. How fast can it get here?
Right.
Yeah.
Where can we get it? And so no one else is talking about that except Megan and Tina over in Alejandro.
These two white women at the Community Resource Center.
Sending a text and, to
calling
a friend,
trusted safe space friends.
I'm about to ask a very uncomfortable question. Can you help me through this product search?
But one, it's good that you all acknowledge that, right?
100%.
And that because some people just don't, right?
Yeah. And that's a problem.
But and then two, you all have friends and allies and just folks that y'all can say, hey, look, I need products for people of color.
Yes.
And I maybe just don't know. Do you have some suggestions? And that's just growing and learning, right?
Totally.
Which we should all be doing.
That's our posture.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. We are growing and learning every day. We've been really huge in the Afghan resettlement process.
Yeah.
We are not doing the resettlement, but we are gathering and producing the goods for the families to move into their new established apartments.
Right.
And so
we have
learned so much about the Afghan nation and population and community. you need not just a tiny saucepan, you need a big saucepan.
Right.
You know, you need
this type of product.
Yeah, and then,
because in our minds, there's nothing worse than giving you something that you can't
Yeah.
use,
Right.
or walking in this. And I told her this morning, I said, I can't have another family walk into one of our spaces and not have something that feels relevant,
Right.
that feels like this is what I need for my household. Because it takes a lot of guts to ask somebody for help,
Right.
and I never want anybody to feel like they couldn't get it.
Right.
well, the problem is swab is 99 cents, you know. And
That's a
so,
whole
So
conversation.
you have these brands that have made specific kind of products super affordable, super cheap, probably not great for your hair, probably not great for your body, but they're so affordable that everyone's like, oh, I can give $10 and I'm going to give them 10 shampoos. But the problem is our ethnic hair care is like $8 and $10 and $12, and you know, it's just
Talk about intentional barriers.
Yeah.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
Talk about
Holding it up.
intentional
That's-
barriers.
Wow. I didn't even think about that being an aspect of of hygiene, right? Because you know, you think, hey, everybody is deodorant. It's hair
Right.
product. It's
Right.
like, oh no, like it's a culture plays a part.
Yes.
It's a hygiene.
Absolutely.
100%.
And so you all have to
Absolutely.
kind of react to that as well.
Yeah.
Learn,
Yes.
and then try to pivot and say, okay, what? Like, thank you for this information.
Yeah.
Now, how can us three
Yes.
Yeah.
get together and figure
Yeah.
out like who are some partners that we can reach out to in order to be specific and more intentional about serving communities that need different type of hair or hygiene products.
Absolutely.
Well, we're in 7 counties.
Yeah.
So Davidson County looks different from Wilson County.
Right.
Wilson County looks different from Sumner or Rutherford. And so as we load in these pantries and we load into partners, we have to like have real conversation about who are you serving?
Right.
What does your average clientele look like that's coming through the door asking for assistance? And then how do we overlay the products that are available to us? And what do we need to assist with to kind of make up for that shortfall in a community that needs a little bit more?
Yeah. It's just about finding the gaps. I mean, that's what we're doing all day long.
Every day.
Is even in spaces where they have hygiene, well, what are you not getting?
Right.
Are people uncomfortable donating feminine products?
Right.
And you want us to source that for you? No
Yeah.
problem. I mean, it's identifying the gaps and doing so in a way that's relevant to the community it's serving. And we learn something every day.
Every day.
What did y'all learn the most? Like Nashville, you know, we had like the tornado hit March 3rd, and then a few days later a pandemic happened. Right? So what did you all learn during that process? And like I guess you was one.
Yeah.
so
I was over here in the
sorry.
ocean. That's okay. I'll have some pizza.
Tina, what did you learn, right, during that process?
Oh, it's long. I mean, you know, thank goodness. Facebook was my friend at that moment. I'd be like, hey, I need a photographer. Can you come today? Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. And on the year anniversary and the second anniversary, I started kind of going back through the people that had tagged us and stuff and what had happened. And I saw this progression and even today we had a volunteer that hasn't been there since August. And she was like, oh my gosh, like you guys have
Looks so
drastically
different.
changed what you're doing and how you're doing it. You know, for us going into that March 3rd tornado, we thought we had a really good network. We had a horrible network. We had a network that had major holes in it. And so when you think about a tornado that goes county to county line and then into another county that you serve, and I'm being pulled in 2 different directions, one for Davidson, one for Wilson.
Right.
You know, how do you begin to serve in very different ways? Davidson County is a special breed because the government and the city demand so much from the nonprofits. We fill in so many gaps that just aren't necessarily how other counties operate. And so it was a lot of hard work, you know, and it was a lot of 12, 14, 16-hour days in which you know, like you're seeing midnight as you close a gate, knowing that you're opening that gate at 5 a.m. On the other side, I had individuals that had just lost their homes or their neighbors' homes that said, hey, we're going to set up a distribution for our 3 streets in my front yard or in my backyard or in my living room.
Wow.
We're going to just open it up to the community. And they were vetted people. Like, we knew who they were, and we're like, come get your stuff. Or we had churches that were gone that went and pitched the tent and put up the tables that they could pull from a tree and started serving their community. And so, through this process, these amazing leaders of other organizations, whether they were impacted directly or indirectly by the tornado, because I think everyone was impacted, said, we're going to open our doors and we're going to serve, and here's how we're going to do it. And so that all of a sudden you had this army of just people coming out of the woodwork. And I think that's the blessing and the curse of Nashville, is the moment something happens, everybody wants to pick up a chainsaw and go cut a tree down. And at times we have to be like, whoa, hold on. Like,
Please don't.
We still have gas lines that are alive. We still have...
That tree is about to
Yeah,
fall.
exactly.
You're going to make the damage worse, yeah.
But it was a time in which I'm so thankful I participated in the way that I did and could be a part of the solution of how the community responded to people that probably never imagined they'd be part of a tornado.
Right. I want to get into the deep stuff now. Right. And a lot of it is like logistical. Like,
we live in that space all day.
Like, how, so you all like are the, only like hygiene hub, right, in Middle Tennessee, right? So
It's small.
yeah,
It's pretty small.
Like, so yeah, like the only one, right? Which is crazy. And you would think it'd be more people, more organizations focused around hygiene, but it is what it is. Logistically, how does that process look if I am a community member or if I'm an organization and I see a need, like, hey, like my community needs hygiene, right? Or maybe my school needs hygiene products, or I just live in a whole community where it's just hygiene property, right? How would one go about, like, is that something I need to find you all? Maybe I don't even know y'all exist, or is that something you all are constantly vetting and trying to find, like, who can y'all give away stuff to?
Yeah.
Yes, all the way around.
all of the
Yeses.
above. And that's when you are the only person doing something, at least on a large scale. I want to commend that there are people out there that are doing it, again, in their communities. But when you are the only one doing it at a large scale, it's all of the above. And to kind of go off of what you were talking about with the tornado, I think it really created this model of partnership in a brand new way for us, for the CRC. And so the way that we primarily can build capacity, because like we said, we're 3.5 people, we couldn't serve 1 million people a year, just the 3 of us. We'd try, but we would never get there. The primary sort of vehicle that really gets our stuff out is partnerships with nonprofits, with churches, with schools that have people that are on the front lines doing direct service work, getting in touch with us, or vice versa, us getting in touch with them and saying, how do we plug in? Because when you're serving folks, it's wraparound case management. How do we plug in as your hygiene source? And so, I mean, we've got a network of over 300 nonprofits plus school districts on top of that, that we will work with in any capacity they need, whether it's I need 650 kits for this one-time activity, or I need a hygiene pantry so I can serve people 365 days a year.
And we're really looking for partners that are ingrained in a community. A lot of people will come and say, I got a great idea, I want to start this, and I'm like, but you're not in the community.
Right.
Where we want someone
that hurts. But you're not even
they're not in it.
the community.
They're
You're talking about
operating
something
from over
here. Yeah.
and trying to stay over here. And so, like, we talk a lot. Dream Streets is one of our partners that we do a lot with. Like, the tornado hit, they were serving food. They call me. They're like, we need blankets. We need this. I mean, we rolled a giant truck up into their very tiny cul-de-sac turnaround. The neighbors probably hated us, but that's a situation where, like, they know what their community needs. They know that Mr. George down the street is really struggling with even just getting to the laundromat. So we take him to the laundromat, and then we saw that he didn't have soap. And so we bought him some soap. So it's things like that when you know what your community needs, you are serving, and then you're willing to ask that next question of, how do you need more assistance? How can we help you more? Are the kind of people that we're looking for to do what we do.
And it seems to me that you all should be at every kind of any community event or any wraparound services that is happening in a community. You all should have a space there, because it's just makes sense, because you never know, right?
Yeah.
And then it helps people with that dignity part, right? Even if I'm doing a food drive, if I said, hey, I'm gonna give out free pizzas, for from 2 to 6, well, here's a whole truckload of hygiene for those people too, because like you all said, a lot of this stuff is going hand in hand. People that are probably suffering from hunger or have food deserts probably need hygiene products too, right? And so y'all got me.
And how do we do it with only 3 people?
Somebody has to drive the truck and pick up the
and somebody's got to pay for that product. And the hard part is when we do drives. We've had 27 drives since January.
Wow.
Some really big, some really small, some in the middle. Every bit of that product is important, though, know? And so if you are the brownie troop that is I got 27 items and that was really great, we're celebrating those kids. We are bravo.
That's amazing.
Come pack those 27 items along with 300 other things that we're going to give you so that you understand why that drive was important. But there's not enough drive around what we do. Food is something that everyone at some point has had a hungry belly. And it's life. You went too long, you had to go to the emergency room and you didn't eat. Whatever the thing is, someone has had a hungry belly, so they understand not wanting to have that for a child or a family. The lack of going days without deodorant for the average human being is mind-boggling, and people are I would never do that. Why would? But we have individuals that are living in our community every day that's the struggle that they have, and they don't have access to deodorant. So when you start talking about, would you like to host a drive? It's sexy to do a canned food drive and make a canned food wall and talk about how many packages of ramen you can get in. But when you talk about deodorant and shampoo and feminine hygiene, there's this stigma around that's ooh. That's personal. That's really personal. And so until we have conversation like this, for us, we'll talk about feminine hygiene all day. It will come up in conversation. It'll be brought to a meeting. It will be whatever. But you say that in mixed company and people are they're looking around and they're fidgeting and we're sorry, we didn't realize.
We didn't realize that wasn't that kind of space.
So unless we're having conversation like this and people are seeing the importance of what happens on the other side, our kids that are getting, and I say our kids because I feel like they're our kids, our kids that are going to hygiene pantries and getting served are come to school more often, maybe with a smile on their face. They're being there. I love their whole self. One of our partners says they come presently with their whole self. That is the goal of whether you are 5, 10, 50. Right. That if you come to one of our our hygiene pantry in South Nashville at the FRC, that maybe the next day when they see you or the next time they see you, your clothes are clean, you have a smile on your face, you feel confident, and that there's some hope in your step to see what you could tackle next.
Yeah. And you really, you kind of hit our dream on the head. We do. We want to be, we have a problem. We want to be everywhere all the time. And we're so fortunate. We have amazing volunteers. When I say that we have the best volunteers in town, it's bragging, but it's also true. There are people that just continue to show up for us day after day, week after week. They know what we do. They're bought in. I don't even have to be out in the warehouse with them because they know what they're doing.
Right. They often tell us what they're going to do. That's great. I know that you would like that conversation today, but we're going to do this over here too. I'm okay.
All right,
awesome.
Great. And that is how we do. We want until we grow in our staff, which we will, but our plan is to use volunteers to help us be in those community spaces where if you're already coming to get the pizza, whatever, you don't even have to ask because it's here.
Right.
And that is our goal, is pantries everywhere, but then also having a presence in just community spaces.
Yeah.
And destigmatizing, like, you don't have to come up and whisper and ask me for this thing. Just take what you need.
Right.
It's
Here's
cool.
a bag. Like, here's a bag. You can put whatever you want in the bag.
And
you're good to go.
See, y'all got me thinking about ideas that I think would be really cool.
Come on. We'll say yes to almost
So,
anything.
Well, you know how, like, I like how you all just alleviate barriers, right? Because it's too many times to where they create these crazy barriers for people that already having a hard time trying to get what you have on the other end of the barriers.
Yes.
You know, whether it's, trying to get SNAP or food stamps, trying to get housing, whatever. Like, maybe I can't read, maybe I can't write, maybe I don't have access to internet, don't have transportation to get to public library to fill out all the forms to be able to, get in the stack of people who need it.
Yes.
So I like how y'all just alleviate all of that and just, hey, look, it's no, like, if you need it, here you go. Like, there's no form, there's no requirements.
Yes.
Other than you do you want it or do you don't want it, right? But I like how community members have sometimes like the community library, like mailboxes and stuff, so people can just, if you want a book, hey, just come and get a book. I think that'd be awesome, and it allows people, right, that dignity part, like, hey, it's here. I know my community needs it. Here you go. And I have a few people in mind that I'm gonna connect y'all with that does like grassroots, like a lot of grassroots stuff in communities where, a lot of people just may not want to go into or venture into if you don't know anybody, or you just like, hey, like, I don't know. But they need to be served too.
Yeah, we've worked with several blessing boxes through the year, specifically like kind of post-COVID or post that D-Day of COVID, like free store and the fridge and some in East Nashville that, luckily, like, there was a community member that was like, hey, I'm the stocker. Like, I restock everything. So if you give me extra, I just stock it when it's ready. And
STOCK.
Yes. Not the other
stalker.
kinds. Okay. And so they were able to come and get product knowing that it was going to that blessing box. One big blessing for us is that someone donated a vehicle.
Wow.
Actually, we've received 2 vehicles in the last 2 years. And so one is our giant truck that's like
that story is amazing.
Feet long, and it's like holds pallets and all of that. But the other one was a Sprinter van by an anonymous donor in Nashville. And it took us a year to get because no one can find cars.
Right.
We had everybody looking for it. But now we have a car or a van that we can stock with hygiene, that can drive around and is restocking. They're restocking pantries. They're restocking schools. That's be like, pull over to the blessing box on Lebanon Road and add put some stuff in it. And so
I love that.
We just didn't have, we were driving our personal vehicles, and I was filling my truck with random stuff and being like, well, we gotta go, so now we actually
I think there's still deodorant just like
probably,
rattling around
under the seat or something. But, we're becoming mobile.
Yeah.
Right.
We jokingly say, like, the day that we don't have to have our truck that holds all of our pallets, and that we get to turn that into a mobile hygiene space that does pull up to, our apartment communities, Cheatham Place, whatever.
Community health event.
A health event, and just open the doors and say, take what you need and have it fully stocked. That's
the
another dream.
Like a hygiene food truck.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. Hygiene on wheels. That's the goal.
And that's awesome. And and what's crazy is, like, one, like, I didn't know we had like a hub. Right, I didn't know that you always like the plug. Right,
most people don't.
Right, and they will though after this.
Yeah, of course.
People will know. But also because, like, that's one of the items, like, you see people like, hey, like, doing what they can, especially if they're trying to service like our homelessness neighbors. And like, I sit on the board of the contributor, right, and so like I don't know if you all work with them.
We do.
But like like that, like, I'm like, you can't, like, it's just, like hygiene is so important.
Yeah.
And what y'all doing is just like, I'm giving you all both 2 bouquets of flowers now.
We give them right back. Thank you.
No, because one, like stuff is expensive.
It is.
Right?
Especially right now.
Yeah,
I
like-
read an article this morning that it's 9% more expensive right now than it is a year ago, which 9% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you are making hard choices about how you spend your money,
Right.
9% is a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm like parents with like diapers and stuff. Like I just had, like my son, he just turned 2. But like,
So you know how
Yeah,
expensive
you know
this
it's
stuff is. It's
expensive.
crazy.
let me get a. What kind of diapers y'all got?
Are those coated in
Yeah,
gold? Because
right.
they should be for $35.
Like, it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
like that's something that doesn't end, right, for like many years, and like
Yeah.
you compound that like with like rent, like childcare, and then just groceries in general, and then just
And gas.
and all that. And so
transportation, yeah.
and so if I can alleviate something like hygiene where I can get, and you're not like picky, right, and you don't have to have like this super high brand, but something that is for you, like why not? Like I'm advocating, hey, if you can save some money, go over there and
Absolutely.
get you some hygiene products.
Because we know, I mean, we talk about this a lot, that in this space of basic needs, which we think we are in there, hygiene, when you make hard choices about your money, hygiene is going to be the first thing that goes.
Yes.
Because you got to pay your rent, you got to keep your lights on, you got to pay your car note, and you got to buy food.
Right.
So what's the first thing that's going to go every single time? It's hygiene. Because
Right.
to some people, that's the like, well, it's a necessity, but in the grand scheme of
luxury.
things, it's a luxury. We say it's not, but we realize that when you're making tough choices, our products will be the first thing that you choose not to pay for. So we try to get to that space before those decisions have to get made.
You know, I think the other thing is we try to create capacity in someone's budget.
Totally.
Is the other part. So this morning we spent the morning packing a cleaning kit to go to Waverly that'll be dispersed with food. So they're getting food and a cleaning kit from us. About $25, $35 is about the value of the kit. And for us, that's like $35 of like a rotisserie chicken. You know, like that's like go get some real food that's not covered on assistance, or make the whole payment,
Right.
you know, to your phone, or to keep your lights on, or get caught up. Like, so when we can create capacity in someone's budget, that allows them to just breathe a little bit easier, and show up differently in their personal life,
Yeah.
just as much as you know, in their outward and what they're
Right.
doing outside the home.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that's important too. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
How do you,
Financial stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, just having in our minds that like we're always in like a disaster relief, I think, right?
Always.
Like always, right? It might not be as overt as like a tornado, but like there's like people having like their own little disasters every day in their lives, and you know every little bit helps.
Absolutely.
well, for us, we say disaster relief is like 1/7 of what we do, but we deal with a crisis every day.
Yeah.
So it is a hygiene crisis. It is a resettlement crisis. It is a
Apartment
fire that
fire.
happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
like what are those little crisis
Right.
opportunities in which the CRC can come in and serve and help out and do it in a way that does create dignity.
Yeah.
that
Right.
It's
doesn't-
quiet. It's quiet.
You know, I always say that even when we serve a tornado survivor, you know, with product or appliances or things like that, or a resettled family, like I want it to look like we went to Target,
Right.
and that it was bought and it was put together with them in mind about how they would feel when they saw it. And it wasn't like in black bags.
Right.
Like, here you go. Like, it's not trash. This is brand new product. This
Right.
is brand new. We specifically did it for you. And I hope that you feel the love that was packed with, because
Right.
our volunteers really do take it to heart
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, they are the ones that are like, I'm so glad I came here today to do fill in the blank, whether it is
Right.
to make a hygiene kit, it is to, you know, source product for a family moving from Afghanistan, or even packing for some of our pantries. Like, the fact that they know that they can think about every kid that's going to get a stick of deodorant out of that pantry as they're putting it in there and putting a sticker on it or whatever the case might be. Our volunteers really take it to heart at what they play in this part around this, just, opportunity.
Would you all say that like hygiene is like a hidden kind of issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here in Nashville?
Yes.
Oh, it's across the country.
For sure.
If you look at, like we were just saying in a meeting the other day, and they're like, can you pull up some white pages and research about this? And I was like, no. The last report that really was around hygiene happened in 2013.
Yeah.
Because
National report.
So, like, you don't have people that are doing, like, how many people in this area don't have access? How many people are walking farther than a mile past a bus stop to,
buy $12 detergent
and
for one load.
I guess how do you we don't have good numbers on homelessness here.
No.
Right.
Right. We don't have. We just have estimates. We don't have. We don't know how many people are really homeless. Because the homelessness is, if you're sleeping on a friend's couch, you're homeless.
Yes.
Yes. We like to stay in house so that whether you are in a tent, in an encampment, sitting on someone's couch, sleeping in your car, like, you're just in a house.
Yeah, you're in a
You
house.
just need to find you the next, next housing opportunity.
And so, how would you even measure hygiene?
No, because who's going to answer honestly on a survey if you ask me, do you feel like you are clean?
Or how leading is that question too? Like, that you're leading.
Do you have deodorant?
Honest.
Well, I don't want to tell you that I don't have deodorant, so I'm going to tell you, especially going back to kids can be mean. Life is, we had this conversation. Everybody on the internet, you're always trying to put your best foot forward. Yeah. Nobody wants to come out and say, I don't have access to these very personal products. So we, much like homelessness, we don't know. But judging by the number of product that goes out of our building every day, it's a whole lot of people.
And I mean, we are assuming a lot. We try to utilize numbers that have been done, census data. So we try to overlay our coverage area with what does that census data look at, where are pockets of community that are receiving, higher WIC assistance or higher SNAP assistance, and we really look at who's a partner that's working in there. How do we work with them? Or where's the school that's being impacted with not necessarily larger free and reduced lunch, but larger hero numbers or, access to transportation to get kids to school. Those are how we have to begin to judge, if you will, to find places that need additional support than just being like, oh, it's all North Nashville or it's all East Nashville. No, it's there
everywhere.
Are pockets. I mean, we're dealing with a trailer park in Williamson County.
Right.
And they want to imagine there is no poverty in Williamson County. Yes, there is.
There is.
There is definitely another side of the tracks,
So, man, this is a lot to unpack.
I know, you got a lot.
You
got more than you bargained for.
This is actually serve pizza. Come back for a second.
but no, this is because you all are having me look at, and I hope the viewers and listeners too, just evaluate hygiene so differently, right?
Yeah.
And kind of the crisis that it's in, but again, society, we put a lot of things ahead of just hygiene, right? Which hygiene affect us all, but why are we not talking about this more? Why are we not trying to combat this crisis just like we're trying to combat all these other crises? Because people want to smell good, people want to feel good, right? People want to be clean, right? Man, this is a lot. Wow. No, y'all got me over here, and I don't ponder often.
I hope that's a good thing, because you've had some great ideas that I'm for sure going to run with as soon as we leave.
No, because because my whole thing about this is we all should be trying to build community together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need to be creating spaces and hubs and things where people don't have to be afraid or ashamed to to say, hey, I need this, I need help. And social media makes everything everybody's doing great and nobody's doing bad and whoop de whoop when there's people really hurting inside as they're taking their selfie and posting it, right?
Absolutely.
They're really crying inside. And so have you all ever ran into any issues where people feel like you shouldn't be doing the work that you're doing, or you should be doing it a particular way. The reason I say that because, again, like I have worked for the contributor, I have volunteered for the contributor, now I'm on the board of the contributor. I've done everything one could possibly do for a contributor. And we will literally get mail like from community members saying that like what we was doing was bad for the community, that we shouldn't be giving our homeless neighbors or formerly homeless neighbors a chance to like make income and right. so I wonder, like, is it any of that like in the hygiene space which y'all doing, like, oh, y'all shouldn't be providing
I don't
if it's not, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know that it is in that way.
Okay.
I think there's some much more comfortable volunteer opportunities, much more comfortable organizations to write checks to.
Okay.
Much more comfortable check marks to check off. And so when you compare, a company that's got their name on a building and they say, we want to volunteer, they're gonna naturally kind of gravitate to the safe choices.
Right.
And choices that don't necessarily balk the system, where I feel like some of the larger organizations that have really embraced us are, it's maybe healthcare, it's maybe closer aligned to
women's groups around our women's health initiative.
So it's kind of like they find these pockets to say like, well, we're supporting you because our women's group is, and really until Nashville wants to acknowledge that the CRC is here and it's not going anywhere, that our roots are deep. I mean, we've been here for almost 40 years. We've been serving for almost 40 years. Like, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
We might look different than we did 10 years ago, and we certainly have found a niche that are super serving and going at it 100 miles an hour and 40 plus hours a week, and often on the weekend. Once that becomes a mainstay in the conversation, that it's like, oh yeah, we do food and we volunteer and we give to food, we volunteer and we give to hygiene, we volunteer and we give to unhoused groups or a kids group, like, or pets, until we're part of that
everyday conversation.
Have to be part of the everyday conversation.
Right.
So they're not telling us to their face that we're not doing it right or that they don't like it.
Right.
But they certainly are when they're voting with their dollars and their volunteer hours.
So next thing I need to do is get hygiene on the wall.
Yes. We need some deodorant on here somewhere.
I need to get hygiene.
Yeah.
I need to get hygiene. And so, like, as far as action steps that people can take, right? Like, how can people contact you all, or if they want to do a drive, or they want to serve their community? Because Tina said you have to be in the community. You can't. You can't be over there. Right?
You can't be from California or Oregon.
And be like, over in Nashville.
You cannot be from the West Coast. Let's just sum it up. But no, so how can people go about that process?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I am positive, like, once people hear this conversation, they're gonna be like, oh shit, like I need to connect with you all. So how can they do that?
So Instagram is our big social playground. Like, if there's something happening, it is up to date on Instagram, and at CRC Nashville is the easiest way to find us there. But our website, crcnashville.org, is everything from how to volunteer, signing up to host a dignity drive, finding ways to plug in. The other big thing is, everybody's shopping on Amazon. We receive probably 2-3 Amazon trucks a day, dropping from one package to 100,
Wow.
And so if you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I want to do something today, our Amazon wish list is fully up to date on what we need around dignity of hygiene, and they can go right online and purchase that without even having to jump through a hoop, give an email address, nothing. So if anything, like, just go buy something. It's helpful to us. But really our website is, really the place that you can connect with Megan and I, as well as just what we're doing and how to be a part of it.
Y'all's website is amazing. So whoever did that, that's an amazing
That's
job.
her.
Oh wow.
3 a.m. 3 a.m. on the night of the bombing.
But I mean, the beautiful thing about being small is we're approachable.
Yeah.
We have to be. It's either her and I or both of us, if you get us in the same place, having every single conversation. And so if you're somebody that wants to get involved, or on the flip side, if you're a part of a community that you need hygiene, call us.
Yeah.
We commit to being part of the solution.
And I think everyone assumes we're busy, which we are. Like that's just
Everybody.
is life. But we sit down every day, and if it's not that we were both in the conversation, it's, hey, I just talked to so and so. This is what's up. They just talked to Megan just talked to so and so. This is what's up, and we're gonna find these pockets of where we can help.
Yeah.
But we need an army of volunteers that want to come along with us and be a part of it. And every time someone donates or gives us their email address or volunteers, we're like, we got another one. We have
Throwing
another
a party.
one that can really help.
I'm doing the drive. I'm gonna let you
Yes,
know.
dignity drive. Do a dignity drive.
Yeah, it's a dignity deep dish. It's a lot of D's.
There's a lot of
It's a lot of D's in there. Yeah, I'm gonna do a drive. I'm committing to that.
Thank
I'm
you.
committing to that. I'm gonna do a drive, and so we're gonna figure that out and figure out how I'm gonna do that. But it's gonna be amazing. I'm excited. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that because y'all gonna blow up, right? Eventually, it's gonna be cause
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen because that's how it happens, right? You start off small, start off with 1, 2, then 3, and 3.5, and then
shout out Half Larry.
Right. And then you're a whole big organization, and then you're not as reachable, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then because you'll be doing so much, and people will be giving so much money, and bigger budgets.
Manifest
and
that.
all of that.
Manifest
I'm putting all of that out there for y'all, because I like being ahead of these type of conversations and these type of just social justice initiatives and movements, right? Because that's what it is a movement.
Yeah.
And hopefully people are just made aware of it. And it kind of reminds me of conservation a little bit, climate, right? How it just people are now big, but people been kind of say, hey, climate, and it's one of those things you're I live in climate every day, but I feel okay, right? I think hygiene is the same way.
Totally, you're absolutely right.
I'm clean, but so just making people aware, hey, there's a hygiene crisis that and we have a hub right here in Nashville. They're serving 7 counties. 3 people in 2 trucks, and
I mean, we always tell people 2,000 bottles of shampoo go out our door every week.
2,000 bottles of shampoo.
So you cannot tell me that there's not a crisis when you talk about those kind of numbers.
2,000 bottles of shampoo.
That's a slow week.
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
That's a slow week.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we're talking from diapers to wipes to shampoo. So the 10 items get boxed differently.
Right.
And diapers are easy to come by. And the people are like, oh, everybody can pass out diapers. No one's passing out wipes.
Right.
We're probably going through 3,000-4,000 things of wipes.
And the good thing about wipes is you can use them for life.
Yes.
You just don't have to be a baby to use wipes.
Yes. In fact, I would say outside of babies, the number one people in our community who are using wipes are women in the unhoused community because they don't have access to sanitary spaces that are safe for them. So whether that's for bathing or for feminine hygiene, the number one request we get for baby wipes is actually for that purpose.
And so can people so if I'm off the street and I'm housed, or I just feel like I just need hygiene products. Can I come to you all directly and say, hey, Tina, Megan, I was told I can come here for hygiene products. I need something right now.
The better thing to do is call 211.
Okay.
So 211 will actually give them a variety of resources, but they'll actually look at what zip code they're calling from or community, and can direct them to one of
the closest pantry.
The closest pantry that's open to the public.
Because we're not super close on a bus line, and that's a huge barrier.
Right.
We're in a warehouse district. I'm just follow all the semis, and then you'll find us right next to the recycling center. So we're not actually super accessible. So that's why we're on a mission to put hygiene in places that are off a bus line, so that people don't have to hop 3 buses to try to get to us.
And what does that look like for somebody that wants to have a pantry?
Yeah, I think being a nonprofit is really the most important. and having a space that can be kind of dedicated for that.
Okay.
They might have a food pantry already. They might be serving, people that are coming in on a kind of a structured basis, not just like, oh, it's only when we open the door and no one knows when they open the door.
Yeah.
It needs to have definitely a structured service that we can tie into.
Right.
That they're willing to exchange a little bit of information about how many people are they seeing every week and how often are they seeing the same people, and what are the other needs that they might have, and how are they working within a referral source to make sure that they're not just an island.
Okay.
We really want people that want to be connected and referring across resources and opportunities for individuals.
Well, look, this has been wonderful. This has been
feel
great.
the same way. We're not in a warehouse right now. Are you kidding? She's not on a forklift. I'm not moving a pallet jack. This is a dream.
They are forklift and pallet jack certified.
Yes, check.
So if you need moving and everything, call them as well.
Please don't call
Megan,
us.
Tina, I appreciate you all both and the work that you all are doing. And I'm excited to I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
Like, I really do.
Yes, you do.
And so thank you all. And we got to have you back because more people need to know more about this.
Love it. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you.